Welcome back to Raven Maven and happy Black History Month. After a brief hiatus, I'm back to talk about craft beer in the beer industry with Courtney Holden of Black Bear Geek. However, before I get into that, let's talk about beer one on one. So, who invented beer? So, some 12,000 years ago, the invention of beer most likely came about alongside the development of cereal agriculture. The first barley bear was born in the Middle East. There's evidence that the ancient Sumerians of Mesopotamia were producing beer dating back 5,000 years. It is also noted that Egyptians loved beer so much that it was often used to pay Nile workers and was enjoyed by everyone from the pharaoh to peasants to even the children. Drunk babies. What is craft beer? Today, beer production has evolved immensely. The US has had a long history and relationship with beer, which you can read all about by visiting the links in this video. So, check that description. But to sum up what I've learned, I would consider craft beer to be any beer that is created by an independent brewer or a craft brewer. Where are the Black craft brewers? Thurlish James Beard Award winner and journalist David Infante says in his article, there are almost no Black people brewing craft beer, that nearly all craft beer brewers started out as craft beer drinkers. So it stands to reason that there are to be Black brewers, there would have to be Black drinkers. According to Nielsen's study commissioned by the Brewers Association, they found that while Black drinkers compose 11.2% of the US population, they consume only 3.7% of the country's craft beer. Compare that with the 80% of craft beer guzzled by whites, who makes up 60% of the population. And you'll start to get a sense of the large divide. Therefore, craft beer is a very white community because overall, American beer industry has always been white. Thus, if the craft beer community and overall beer industry wants to be more inclusive, then Black people must be invited and engaged in a way that is organic and authentic. Thus, let's welcome beer enthusiast Courtney Holden of Black Bear Geek. Courtney, so welcome to Raven Maven and thank you for joining us. How are you doing
Thanks for
today?
having me. Thanks for having me. I'm doing Gucci now. It's Friday.
So, first and foremost, I just wanted to congratulate you on your recent collaboration with Guinness Open Gate Brewery on the release of your very own craft beer titled See Us, created along with Jackie Wanzi and Holly Stevenson, correct?
That's correct.
So it seems that you guys are hoping to increase the visibility of the POC in the beer industry. So plus all the proceeds from this beer will be donated to the Job Opportunities Task Force in Baltimore, Maryland. So if you guys support this initiative, I encourage you to grab a can of Guinness See Us today. But Courtney, if we could just jump into yes, plug that in. Um, let's talk about before we get into how you got to Guinness where you are today in that collaboration. Let's talk about your history and journey with beer and I guess beer tasting and like how did that all come about and how you became passionate about it.
So my father is big on making sauces and making meats with alcohol. So growing up watching him cook, I was like, I'm gonna be like him or take it to the next level. So when I got old enough, I started cooking and experimenting. And a friend of mine was a craft beer drinker, and so I was like, these flavors on these cans look interesting. It might be good to make with food. So I started cooking with the beer first. And there would always be a little bit of beer left after I cooked with it. And then I would be like, well, this beer too damn expensive for me to not drink it. So I didn't want the beer to go to waste. So basically what I would do is I would drink it. And I kept tasting beer until I found something that I liked. And that's kind of how I got into beer.
Wow. So it all started with a good old meal and some sauces.
Yeah, basically. and making meat and things like that.
So, what does the bear community look like as far as, do you feel like there's a lot of people that look like us in the whole bear community or the culture of bear?
Absolutely not. So black beer drinkers only make up about 2% of the overall market of craft beer. Um, I have been able to create a space for us to be able to drink together here in Baltimore, and I hope to be able to mimic that same thing worldwide. But honestly, it's because the accessibility of craft beer and the marketing of craft beer is not really meant for people of color.
Right.
So I think it starts with the business owners and tap rooms and breweries working closely with people of color to build a bridge so that we can have spaces in the space in that environment and sector. So I think that's where the issue is. Craft beer is much more expensive. So I would say that accessibility is an issue. I think that lack of visibility of employees. When I go into a beer place and I don't see any black people, I immediately feel uncomfortable. But when I go in places where there are visible black people there, I can feel more at ease about me being there. So I think that's where we have to start, is first making them understand that we need to be visible in the building.
Right. More diversity, which
Mhm.
also is good for the industry because we have dollars to spend as well. So you would think that they would want to reach out to not only Black people, but also other people of color and make that community more inclusive.
Yes, definitely, because there's a total of $200 trillion that are not being spent of black dollars that could be spent in any market that's choosing. It's also theoretically they say that black people really rally behind the brands that rally behind them. And so
Absolutely.
I think Nike is a good example of that. When they chose to partner with Colin Kaepernick, Nike already was pretty much, being bought mostly by black people, but now it's through the roof and no one can ever catch up because of the choices that they've chosen. So I think that's where marketing and the basic rules behind doing business has to change when it comes to craft beer.
Yeah, and I also think authentically tapping in to, that they're customers of a particular group that, patronize with your business. So tapping into what their issues are and showing empathy and it being authentic, I think really is also part of the reason why Nike continues to have such a stronghold on the sneaker market and industry. And I think a lot of other businesses could learn a lot from Nike as far as how to better connect with the Black community.
That's correct. But they also have black employees that are there saying, listen, this is not something black people like. This is something that black people will buy. So if you don't have any black people in the building or any people of color in the building, and a place like Chicago or inner cities like Baltimore, where this is a black ass city, like, you know what I mean? Like, it should be a black person working in a Baltimore brewery. Like, that's just a given. And so I don't understand. I've gotten many cop outs like, oh, well, there's not really that many people that want to work, and it's like, no, you just don't know where to look for them, and you don't
Right,
know how to market to get them, and you're not opening up doors in potential fields for them to go into this career. Like,
right,
it's a totally STEM field, so why wouldn't you want to go into that? Like,
right. And it's also like, besides their breweries that are existing or craft brewers that are existing, not appealing to the Black community, there's also a very small amount of Black craft brewers.
mm-hmm.
So that also is another opportunity, not only for the industry, but also for the Black community, for those of you out there who might be interested in learning more about craft beer or beer in general. This might be something that you might want to explore as a business to get started in. maybe look into existing brewers or work for one and see how they do things, and maybe you can just go out and do your own. I've read a I prepared for this interview, read a lot of
Obviously.
articles. Yeah, there are definitely, and I'll drop some links, guys, in my description, but they're totally um there are basically programs out there that exist that are created for minority people to learn more about this industry and how to get into it. So I will drop that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
The Brewers Association is definitely one of them,
absolutely.
and they have a black woman who is the head of diversity and inclusion and marketing for that, and she has been very vocal about that. They also have grants that you can get to open a business. Is say you want to do a bottle shop or anything like that, a beer boutique, which that's a real thing, which is my goal eventually. To do something like that. They also have a thing where a lot of the breweries that have really good resources are working together to build resources for smaller breweries. Like
Right.
for instance, Crown and Hops did the 8 Trill Pills where they gave like $50,000 to a couple breweries, and they gave $20,000 to a few brewers, and then $10,000 to certain brewers, and there was this whole like thing you had to do to be qualified to be a part of that. But it was all meant for minorities. So I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to make sure I mentioned that because it's dope as hell to know that black people are doing things for other black people. Like that's cool.
And at Raven Maven, we're all about us just helping each other first, because we're not looking for no handouts. Yes, I do, for the most part, agree that there should be more education and diversity and inclusion for us. However, I also still believe that in order for us to see change, we also need to implement some of those changes. So I'm excited to hear about that as well. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
So you already talked about like your history with like how you got into beer, but tell us, what are some of your favorite craft beers?
Wow, that's whew,
You
that's
probably get
hard.
that all the time, right?
Yeah, but well, so it changes. So beer, what people don't understand is that beer is revolved around the calendar and the season.
Mhm.
So what's available for you to get? There are some things that you can get all year round, and then there are beers that are considered seasonal, quote unquote. Seasonal beers are ones that they only come out during that time of the year, and I tend to pick beers based on the season.
Mm.
But one beer that I feel like I could drink anytime would be like a wit, which is a wheat Belgian ale, or a Hefeweizen, which is a German wheat beer. They basically the same thing. They have a lower ABV, but they have a really fine and minute taste to them. They're very good to pair with food and things like that. So you can do a lot of things with them. So that's why I would say that would probably be my favorite beer style. As far as like beer, just one beer, like there's no way I can narrow it down to one beer.
She's like, I like what I like.
Yeah.
I don't really know if I have personally like a favorite craft beer, but I know that I really do enjoy Red Stripe. Um,
Okay.
I like Guinness Stout, and I
Okay.
also like Heineken. So I know all the big ones, but but
So based on what you just said, like I can ask a person what they drink liquor wise or wine wise, and I can also ask them what kind of beer they drink, like domestic beers, and then tell them where they should start with craft beer. So being that Red Stripe is a lager, I would say that you would like a Bach, or a lager, a really dark colored beer, which would be like See Us, which is a beer that's very drinkable. So I have to get you some down that way.
woo!
And then the other one you said, the Guinness, because it's got a deep and very dank and very rich flavor. those porters and stouts like that start with a sweeter undertone with like coffee and chocolate and things like that. That would be a good place to start with that. And those are very good winter beers, but they really are bad to drink in the summer because it's too damn hot for that. And then the other beer that you mentioned, Heineken, that would be considered a Pilsner. So that's a more lighter beer. And they
Summer,
make
right?
Pilsners. Yeah, they're pretty. I call those for the average Joe. That's
Okay.
just a regular beer you drink while you're watching the game or whatever. But they have beers that fall like a little bit below that, which would be like what I like, which is Hefeweizen. So I feel like you might like that as well.
Okay.
So I mean, it's just like understanding how the different styles connect to each other.
So, guys, I'm going to make the Toya list based on the beer enthusiast Courtney's advice. I'm gonna put that down as well, and also, make sure that we list your faves as well, so people can go try that. People that look like us, if you're interested. Um, and I guess my final question for you is, what is the future of Black Bear Geek? Like, beside, I know you just launched your own bear, which is an amazing accomplishment, especially with what is behind it and the advocacy that is going to do for the community. But like, is there anything else that you have in the works that you could maybe share, or just anything we should look out for?
So here in Baltimore, I launched in 2020 the Be More Black Beer Drinkers Club, which is a place for POCs to be able to get together monthly and have beer together. We do like beer shares. We go to breweries together. We have a chat where we can like have time to talk about things that we go through on a daily basis, working in a white professional America. And we also like are really legit friends. Like we're there for each other in ways like family. So I created that space because there's so many groups like for women, there's groups for like gay people, there's groups for this, but there's not really a group for people of color. And the way we can best show our visibility in tap rooms is if we show up in numbers. It's one thing if we show up as one person, but it's another thing if we show up as 10, 15, 20 people deep, then it changes the whole aura of the room. Um, and so I started that, and I intend on continuing that legacy as I am moving professionally to another city, but I
Wow.
still will oversee Be More Black Beer Drinkers Club. So I'm handing that off to Jackie. She's my right hand man, and she's gonna
Shout
keep
out
Be More
Jackie.
Black. Yeah, shout out to Jackie. She gonna keep Be More Black Beer Drinkers Club going. So that's the one part of the future of Black Beer Geek. Another thing that's going on with Black Beer Geek is so after I did my launch with Guinness, of course, other breweries stepped up and was like, "Hey, we really love what you're doing to help the community." Because I keep saying that beer can be a vehicle for change if we use it, and that if you're helping the community, you're in hence helping Black people because Baltimore is a black ass city. Like
Black
that's just what it
City.
is.
It's black,
Yes.
black.
So, another brewery stepped up and said that they wanted to make a pride. I asked them if we could make a pride beer. And so now we're going to make a pride beer that will pay homage to Marsha P. Johnson and will be a farmhouse saison and will be coming out for pride season. So that
Wow.
will be something that's coming out soon. So and that will the money that's going to that will go to the Baltimore Trans Alliance, which is a alliance that helps with people that get this like thrown out of their homes because they're trans or they don't have anywhere to go or they're looking for resources to help better themselves.
Wow.
So that's
That's so
the
positive.
next. Yeah, so that's my next collab, and those take a lot of time, so I'm only going to do 2 this year.
Yeah.
um
Those
and
are big,
then
big projects.
yeah, and then the last thing that's going on with Black Beer Geek is so me and Jackie have decided that we wanted to take what we have created, well, I created with Be More Black Beer Drinkers Club, and mimic it in other places. So I will continue that and build another one in the new city that I'm moving to. Whoop, whoop.
Can
And
you tell us where
so
you're moving to?
I'm I'm moving to Greenville, South Carolina, which is close to where I'm from.
Woo!
It's halfway between Atlanta and Charlotte, so it's like the halfway point, and about an hour and 15 minutes from Nashville. So it's a great place to live, just to take care of myself and my family and things like that. And because like I'm so country to the core, I want to be like in the field and riding four wheelers and drive my truck, because I do actually drive a truck and everything. So
They did a picture
going
like
back,
that. That's
yeah,
what we need.
the city is not really for me. So I have decided that I've gotten out of the country long enough to do what I wanted to do in my career and get it kicked off. And now that I have an opportunity to move back to a rural area, that's definitely something I'm definitely interested in. So I'm thankful that I'm getting to do that. And so I'm gonna try to remimic that. But we also are launching the Black as Fuck beer trip. So the Black as Fuck beer trip is where black people from all over the United States get to basically do an all-inclusive trip somewhere together in a beer city, and basically all of it's included: the beer tours, everything, you're where you're gonna stay, everything we're gonna do, all of everything.
Sign
Like
me
it's
up.
so it's gonna be a cool thing to launch. We have just started like talking about the logistics now that we can see that people are getting vaccinated and COVID is kind of like starting to die down a little bit. Hopefully we'll be able to launch that like at the end of 2021, first part of 2022.
Woo! So much going on.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm always busy, yo. Like I never thought people would actually give a damn what I was saying, but now that people are paying attention to me, I am really intentional about using the word influencer correctly, because I
Right.
feel like so many don't. But I'm really trying to influence my, community and make sure that I'm really, because the definition of influence is to change people's behavior, and my intent
Exactly.
is to change people from being racist as fuck and beer. Like that's what I'm trying to do,
That's what
like
we're here for.
so
Well, I commend you, and I think the work that you've been doing. And I literally stumbled upon your page on Instagram, and I was like, "She's awesome. This is awesome." Like, and then like even preparing for this interview to talk about bear, I was just so fascinated with all the things that I learned just to like, get ready for this conversation. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining Raven Maven and myself for, this episode, and talking about, being Black and drinking beer and
um,
inclusivity and diversity. So, I'm all here for that. And if you could just drop a line and tell everyone where they could find you. And I'm hoping that, do you have a website? But if you don't, maybe coming soon.
maybe I gotta figure out when I'm gonna do that, because I
Yeah.
got so much going on. I mostly do everything on IG, so I have apparel coming out soon. But you can find me on IG at black_beer_geek. Um, and you definitely don't be shy. DM me, I will answer you. Any questions you have, any recommendations you might want as far as like beer, you want to get started in beer, I'm more than happy to extend my expertise and extremely complex beer palette to your disposal if you would like. And just follow me and check me out and see what all cool stuff I got going on. And if you come down to Be More, hey, look me up. If you in South Carolina, look me up. I come look with hang with you.
So tap in with Courtney, guys, if you're ever in SC or in MD, Baltimore. But again, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get into the Black fact of the episode. So I'm going to let you go. But again, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that we can work again together because this was awesome.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much, Latoya.
You're welcome. So, time for the Black Fact of the Day. This is a new thing that I'm planning to do with you guys. So, as we were talking about beer, according to the New York Times, there are only 8,000 breweries in the United States, and about 60 of them are Black owned. So, as we were talking with Courtney, in conclusion, if you're interested in learning what the beer industry is doing to help Black brewers, then I urge you to read this article by Joshua Bernstein. The beer industry looks for ways to help Black brewers, which is on New York Times. I would like to recognize Garrett Oliver, brewmaster at Brooklyn Brewery, for his efforts in fostering inclusion and diversity in the brewing industry through his organization, the Michael James Jackson Foundation for Brewing and Distilling. And that's all for today. So if you enjoyed this episode of Raven Maven, please like and subscribe and leave a comment below in the descriptions or wherever you're watching. And I hope to see you guys soon.